my child. There were days you looked for me and couldn't feel anything. You whispered prayers into the night and waited for something, anything, to change. But all you heard was silence. You wondered if I was ignoring you, if I had stepped away, if maybe, somehow, you had missed me entirely. You didn't say it aloud, but I heard your thoughts. Where is God now? Why won't He answer me? And here I am, telling you, gently but clearly, I was never silent to punish you. I was silent because I was healing you. You didn't see it, but in the stillness, I was working on things deeper than words could reach. I wasn't ignoring you. I was protecting something sacred inside of you. I was rewiring what pain had distorted. I was calming storms you couldn't name. I was reaching into wounds you had covered so well. Even you forgot they were still bleeding. You kept wondering why I didn't show up the way I used to, why the goosebumps were gone, why the answers didn't come quickly anymore. You missed the fire, the emotion, the clarity. But beloved, I wasn't taking my presence away. I was maturing your faith. I was showing you how to walk by trust, not by feelings. I was teaching you that my love is not always loud, but it is always loyal. In the silence, I taught you to stop chasing the noise and start listening for the whisper. Because sometimes you needed to lose the crutches. You needed to sit in the stillness long enough to remember that my voice is not only in miracles, it's also in moments, in breath, in waiting, in quiet rooms where no one applauds you, but heaven watches closely. You thought I was distant, but I was closer than ever. So close, I was holding the pieces of your heart even while you pretended they were still whole. I didn't expose the brokenness. I healed it gently. I didn't rush your process. I sat with you inside it. That's what a father does. I know how you've tried to be strong. I know how you held it together for everyone else. I saw you smile when you wanted to break down. I watched you keep going when you barely had the strength to get out of bed. You thought I was silent, but the truth is, I was speaking through your survival. I was healing through your persistence. Not every breakthrough comes with thunder. Some come quietly, like peace returning after years of fear, like laughter you thought you'd lost, like rest after a season of wrestling. You thought I abandoned you because the lights dimmed, but I turned the noise down on purpose, because your healing required less volume and more presence. You needed to learn that I'm still God when the music fades. I'm still near when you feel numb. I'm still moving when everything else stands still. And in that stillness, I rewrote some things inside you. I reminded you of who you are, not based on performance, but based on my promise. I showed you that you don't have to be busy to be beloved, that your worth isn't in how much you do, but in whose you are, that you are not valuable because you are strong. You are valuable because you are mine. And now, something is shifting. That stillness, the one that once felt like a void, is beginning to feel like a refuge. The silence that once scared you is starting to sound like peace. You've learned to hear me in the absence of noise. You've learned to trust me in the absence of evidence. You've learned to walk with me when I don't explain everything to you. And that is faith. Faith is not loud declarations made in front of crowds. Faith is when you keep praying, even when it feels pointless. When you get up and try again, even when hope is bruised. When you choose me, not because you feel me, but because you believe I am still there. And I was, every time. I never walked away. I never stopped working. And now I'm bringing you into a new understanding, not just of my power, but of my person. I'm more than the God who performs. I am the Father who abides. You thought I was silent, but I was speaking through every breath you took in pain. You thought I left, but I was closer than ever, fixing what you didn't even know was broken. You thought nothing was happening, but I was restoring you, layer by layer, cell by cell, prayer by prayer. And I know the wait has been long. I know you've questioned if it would ever change. But look at you now, stronger, softer, deeper, more grounded. Not because the storm stopped, but because you stopped letting them define you. I used the stillness to rebuild what life tried to shatter. And now, the same stillness will be your strength. You'll carry peace into places that are desperate for it. You'll comfort others with the comfort I gave you. You'll walk with authority, not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that shifts atmospheres quietly. Because healed people carry heaven in their tone, not just their testimony. So if you ever wonder again whether I'm silent, remember this. Sometimes I do my greatest work when the world grows quiet. And sometimes my most powerful words aren't spoken. They're felt in the warmth of a sunrise, in the gentleness of a breath, in the peace that makes no sense, in the tears that no longer hurt, in the strength that returns unexpectedly. This is what healing in the stillness looks like. And this is just the beginning. My child, now that you've learned to sit in the silence, I want to show you what I was really doing there. Because while you were asking, why isn't God speaking? I was answering a question much deeper than your words. You didn't just need direction. You needed restoration. You needed healing in places you had stopped believing could ever feel whole again. You wanted me to fix the outside, what was falling apart around you, but I was focused on the inside, what was fading within you. Because my greatest miracles are not external shifts, they are internal resurrections. And you, beloved, were in need of one. You had been functioning through your pain for so long, you forgot it was there. You had become used to hiding your wounds behind strength. But I saw past it. I saw the tiredness in your soul. I saw how much pressure you carried just to keep everything looking okay. And I said, enough. Enough pretending. Enough pushing. Enough surviving without ever healing. So I sat you down, not as punishment, but as protection. I let the distractions fall away so I could finally reach the real you. The version of you that wasn't trying to impress me. The version that wasn't rushing ahead or holding everything together. The one that was simply tired and ready to be held. I didn't need your perfection. I needed your permission to go deep, to dig up what you've buried, to gently place my hand on what still aches. Because I wasn't just healing what others broke. I was healing what you forgot how to grieve. Do you remember the dreams you let die quietly? The prayers you stopped praying because hope hurt too much? I remember. I held them in my hands when you dropped them. I never forgot what mattered to you, even when you gave up on it. But before I could bring it back, I had to prepare your heart to hold it differently. You're not the same person you were before the silence. You've been softened, purified, humbled in ways that words cannot describe. And now, you're ready to dream again. But this time, it won't come from striving. It will come from a place of rest, from knowing that you don't have to force what I already promised. This healing, this stillness, it wasn't wasted time. It was holy time. It was the season where roots went deeper than you knew, where identity was rewritten not by what you could do for me, but by how willing you were to sit with me. Do you realize how rare that is? Many seek me for answers. Few stay with me for presence, but you stayed. Even when you didn't feel me, you stayed. Even when you thought I had gone quiet forever, you didn't walk away. And because of that, you carry something now that can't be taught. You carry endurance. You carry depth. You carry the kind of wisdom that only grows in darkness. You carry the ability to recognize my voice in subtle ways. You walk softer. You see clearer. You listen deeper. This is what it means to be formed in stillness. And the world needs that version of you, not the hurried, anxious, overextended you, the quiet, rooted, healed you, the one who understands that power isn't loud and miracles don't always make headlines. You've learned to stop running from pain and instead invite me into it. That's where transformation happens. Not when you hide it, not when you fake strength, but when you say, Lord, I'm still bleeding here. Please come. And I do. Every time. Now, let me show you something. Look at the peace you carry. It's not because everything is perfect. It's because you've been touched by the healer. Look at how you respond now. Slower, gentler, with grace. That's not a coincidence. That's evidence of my presence. That's what happens when you let me do a deep work in the silence. And now, others will feel it when they're near you. They won't know how to explain it, but they'll sense that there's something different. It's me, living in you, flowing through you, whispering peace into chaos wherever you go. This is the fruit of the stillness. So don't be quick to leave this space. Don't rush into the next thing just to feel busy again. Let me finish what I started. Let me anchor what I've healed, because what's coming will be public. but what I built in you was private, for a reason. You'll need this stillness for where I'm taking you. You'll need the quiet strength I gave you when no one was watching. Not everyone will understand your journey, and that's okay. They didn't see the nights you laid on the floor and asked me to help you breathe, but I did. And now I will use every bit of that pain for purpose, because nothing you endured was wasted. Not the confusion, not the isolation, not the silence, not even the tears you didn't let fall. I was gathering them all, and now I'm releasing something new through you. So trust me again, even in this, even when it's still quiet, because now you know silence does not mean absence, and stillness doesn't mean I've stopped. It means I'm finishing what I began. My child, you've grown familiar with waiting for answers, for healing, for something to finally shift. And I know how heavy that kind of waiting can become. You've asked, how long, God? How much longer will it feel like this? You've cried with your heart more than with your tears, and you've wondered, quietly, if maybe I had forgotten. But I haven't. I never forget those I love, and I never ignore the cries of my children. Your waiting was never about delay. It was about transformation. While you were focused on what hadn't happened yet, I was focused on what was growing in you. Because I'm not just writing answers into your life, I'm building you into the kind of vessel who can carry them well. You see, what's coming isn't small. It's not temporary. It's not something you'll need to keep fighting to maintain. It's something lasting, something sacred, and that kind of promise requires deep roots. Not surface-level faith, not emotional highs, but quiet, tested, grounded trust. That's why I've let you walk through seasons where the only thing you had left was to believe I was still with you. You've been stripped of certainty, of control, of your own strength. But what's left, your raw, surrendered heart, is where I now dwell more fully than ever before. That's where your power is now. Not in how loud you can shout, but in how still you've become with me. Not in how perfectly you perform, but in how completely you've chosen to trust. Not in having all the answers, but in knowing the one who does. You didn't understand it at the time, but the stillness was making you dangerous to the enemy, because healed people walk differently. They no longer react to every voice. They no longer seek validation from every crowd. They no longer live to prove something. They live to reflect me. And that's who you're becoming. That's what I've been doing with you. You didn't need a breakthrough before you healed. You needed to heal before the breakthrough came, because if I gave it to you too soon, you would have seen it as a reward. But this next season isn't a reward. It's a responsibility. You're being trusted with something weighty, something holy, something that will influence others, and I couldn't let you carry that with a wounded soul or a weary mind. So yes, I pulled you aside. I sat you down when you tried to run. I closed doors you didn't understand, and I know it looked like loss, but it was my protection, not my punishment. You thought you were stuck, but I was slowing you down so that when I released you, you'd move in the right direction, with clarity and peace, not confusion and striving. Because where I'm taking you next, there's no space for pretending, no room for masks, no more striving for approval or performing for acceptance. That part of you died in the stillness, and in its place, I've raised someone who knows they're loved even when no one claps. Someone who worships not because it feels good, but because it's their lifeline. Someone who listens not just for answers, but for alignment. You've learned to discern what is me and what is just noise. You've learned to wait for my voice instead of rushing toward the loudest opportunity. That's wisdom. That's maturity. That's the fruit of your time in the quiet with me. And now you're ready to start moving again. But this time, not from panic, from peace. You don't need to chase anymore. What's meant for you won't need to be forced. My favor doesn't exhaust, it flows. My timing doesn't rush, it aligns. My will doesn't pressure, it positions. Let me be the rhythm of your steps. Let my spirit guide your instincts. Let my presence shape your decisions. And as you begin to take steps forward, you'll notice something new. You're not afraid the way you used to be. You're not overthinking every detail. You're not carrying the weight of what if anymore. That's because I've healed the part of you that once walked with fear. Now you walk with faith. And when the enemy tries to bring back those lies, when fear tries to whisper, "What if you're wrong? What if God doesn't come through?" You'll remember what I taught you in the stillness. You'll remember that my silence never meant absence. It meant strategy. It meant protection. It meant love. This is who you are now. Not just someone I helped, someone I've formed. Not just someone I rescued, someone I've commissioned. Not just someone who believes in me, someone who walks in me. You may not have seen this version of yourself before, but I did. And everything you've walked through, the silence, the waiting, the breaking, was me bringing this version of you to the surface. So go ahead, take the next step. Not because you're in a hurry, but because you're ready. And when you move, you'll move with power, with peace, and with purpose. Because I've finished the healing I needed to do in the stillness. And now I'm calling you forward with me. My child, now that you're walking forward, I want you to understand something very few realize. Healing doesn't always feel like a miracle. Sometimes it feels like release. Like waking up and realizing the weight you carried so long is finally gone. Like breathing deeply for the first time in years. Like choosing peace when panic once owned your mind. You've reached that place, not because of your strength, but because I stayed with you in the silence. You see, what you called silent suffering, I called sacred transformation. The stillness wasn't the absence of me. It was the setting where I did my most delicate work. You were too fragile to be shaken back into shape. So I loved you slowly. I unraveled your fears quietly. I took your brokenness apart, one piece at a time, not to shame you, but to rebuild you stronger, freer, whole. Others might never understand the weight of what you carried, and that's okay. They didn't walk through the long nights. They didn't watch the dreams fall apart. They didn't hear the prayers you whispered into your pillow, but I did. And that's why your healing is real, even if no one else saw the wound. That's why your growth is valid, even if others can't measure it. That's why your peace matters, even if the process looked invisible. I never needed others to approve your progress. I needed you to trust the process I had you in, and you did. Maybe not perfectly, but persistently, and that's what matters most to me. You never gave up, even when hope felt quiet, even when answers didn't come. You still chose me, and that is the kind of faith I build legacies on. Now, take a moment and look at how different your heart feels. You don't flinch the way you used to. You don't chase the things that used to validate you. You're not as desperate for people's approval because you've learned that my acceptance is enough. You used to seek peace in people. Now you've found it in my presence. You used to beg for clarity. Now you've learned to trust me in mystery. You used to run from pain. Now you invite me into it. That's not just progress. That's transformation. And because of that, I'm bringing you into a new level of awareness, not just of what's ahead, but of who you've become. You no longer carry a survival mindset. You're not trying to outrun what hurt you. You've stopped surviving, and you've started living with purpose. You're not who you were. You don't have to explain the change. Just walk in it. Some won't understand how you became so calm, how you stopped reacting, how you started choosing joy, even in uncertainty. But you will know. You'll smile quietly because you'll remember where I met you and how I mended you. You'll know that what people see on the outside is the result of what I did in the silence, deep within. So now I want you to stop apologizing for your healing. Stop downplaying your growth to make others feel comfortable. Stop minimizing your progress just because it didn't look dramatic. Your healing is holy. Your healing is evidence of my grace. Your healing is proof that stillness with me can rebuild what storms tried to destroy. And don't worry, I haven't forgotten the promises I whispered to you when you had nothing left but faith. I know you thought I was done speaking, but those promises are still alive. I haven't changed my mind. If anything, I've been preparing the environment around you for what I'm about to release through you. And the people who are supposed to walk with you, I've been preparing them too. I didn't want your blessing to arrive in a space that wasn't ready to receive the healed version of you. I know how much you've endured. I know what it cost you. I know how hard it was to stay soft in a world that kept trying to make you hard. But you did it. You kept your heart open. You let me in. And now, I'm bringing things full circle. This is not the end. This is the rising. You're not stepping into recovery. You're stepping into release. So walk forward, not with pressure, but with peace. Not to prove yourself, but to walk with me. There's no need to force the next door open. I'll open it. There's no need to try harder to be used. I've already chosen you. There's no need to question your worth. I've already called you mine. And every time doubt tries to creep in, every time the old version of you tries to speak, you can smile and say, no, that version was healed in the stillness, because it was, and you were my child. You didn't realize it then, but what I was doing in the silence was preparing you for something far beyond what you asked for. You came to me, wanting relief. You stayed, and I gave you rebuilding. You prayed for answers. I gave you identity. You asked for change in your situation, but I started with a deeper change in you, because I don't just answer prayers, I prepare people. I don't just solve problems, I shape hearts, and I shaped yours in stillness on purpose. You see, if I had moved too quickly, you would have stepped into the next season still carrying the weight of what broke you. You would have walked through new doors dragging old chains, and I love you too much for that. I needed to give you time to heal, time to shed false labels, time to disconnect from the lies that once made you feel unworthy. And now you're beginning to feel something stir again. Hope, peace, purpose. It's not coming from the outside. It's rising from within, because in the quiet, I planted new seeds. And without anyone watching, those seeds began to grow. In obscurity, they rooted. In your stillness, they strengthened. And now, it's time for those seeds to bloom. But before you move too fast, let me remind you, what's ahead isn't just about restoration. It's about assignment. The healing wasn't just for you to feel better. It was to prepare you to carry something holy. The pain you survived, it gave you compassion that can't be faked. The rejection you endured, it unlocked a depth of love no applause could ever give you. The silence you sat in, it tuned your ears to my whisper, a whisper that most overlook. You are no longer driven by the need to be seen. You are led now by the one who sees all, and that's what makes you ready. I'm not sending you out as the same person who entered the wilderness. You're walking out different, refined, focused, soft-hearted, but strong in spirit. You've stopped striving to be perfect and started surrendering to be available. And now that you're available, I can trust you with more. Not more pressure, but more purpose. Not more burden, but more clarity. Not more performance, but more presence. You will begin to sense it. Rooms will feel different when you walk in. People will open up around you without knowing why. You'll notice that peace follows you. Not because of who you are, but because of who you carry and who you've allowed to fully carry you. This is what it looks like to be healed in the stillness. You don't walk with insecurity anymore. You walk with intimacy. You don't speak from wounds. You speak from wisdom. You don't react from fear. You respond from faith. And yes, the enemy will try to remind you of who you used to be, but you'll recognize the lie now, because healed people don't argue with darkness. They just turn on the light. So shine. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for validation. I already called you. I already chose you. I already filled you. And everything I did in the silence wasn't just to comfort you. It was to commission you. This is your release season. Not rushed, not reckless, not loud, but anointed. You will walk in what others doubted you'd survive. You will speak into places where silence once lived. You will carry peace into environments filled with unrest, because that's what happens when someone is healed by my spirit. Not all at once, not overnight, but deeply, permanently, divinely. And I'm not done. I'm not just healing you. I'm healing others through you. Every scar now speaks. Every lesson now teaches. Every quiet moment of surrender has become a source of strength for someone else who's still learning how to sit in my silence. That's legacy, that's impact, that's kingdom purpose. So stop looking around for confirmation. You don't need a spotlight to be effective. You don't need applause to be obedient. My spirit is your guide. My word is your confirmation. My presence is your constant. And every time you feel unsure, return to what I whispered in the stillness. You are mine. You are called. You are healed. You are ready. Let that be your rhythm. Let that be your anchor. Let that be the sound that drowns out every doubt. You didn't miss it. You didn't fall too far. You didn't take too long. You healed. You listened. You obeyed. And now you're being released. My child, what you're stepping into now is not just a new chapter. It's a new dimension. Not because you did everything right, but because you stayed with me through everything wrong. You didn't give up in the dark. You didn't walk away when I felt far. You let me finish what I started in the silence. And now, I want to teach you how to walk in wholeness. Yes, healed people walk differently. And that's what you are now. Not perfect, not without scars, but whole. The kind of whole that knows peace even when chaos knocks. The kind that no longer performs for acceptance. The kind that doesn't question their identity every time life shakes. You've grown into someone I can now send. Not to impress, but to impact. You carry something sacred, not because of your education, not because of your influence, but because of your availability. You said yes when no one clapped. You said yes when your voice trembled, and that yes, whispered in the stillness, is louder in heaven than the loudest sermon on earth. That's why I trust you. You don't need a stage to be powerful. You don't need to be seen to be significant. You've learned to be steady in secret, and because of that, I'm positioning you in places you never thought you'd go. Not for fame, but for function. You are a carrier of my spirit now, and that changes everything. When people encounter you, they will feel me. Not because of how loudly you speak, but because of how deeply you listen. Not because you try to fix them, but because you've allowed me to fix you. You'll notice it soon. Conversations will go deeper. People will weep in your presence without knowing why. That's not because of you. It's because I've placed my fragrance on you. The oil of healing, the scent of stillness, the atmosphere of peace. You don't need to convince anyone of your calling. They will feel it. But as I elevate you, stay low in your spirit. Let humility anchor you. Let quiet confidence be your guide. You don't need to explain your process. You don't need to justify your journey. You don't need to retaliate when you're misunderstood. You are not who you were, and you don't owe anyone a version of you that no longer exists. You've been transformed by stillness, and now you'll lead others through the same. You won't just speak about me. You'll reveal me through your patience, through your peace, through your refusal to chase what's not sent by my hand. You won't need to defend yourself. My favor will speak. My fruit will show. Your life will become a quiet sermon, one that heals people simply by being present. But don't rush this next part. You're not late. You're not behind. I'm still orchestrating everything around you. I'm still aligning people, timing, and places. You're not waiting in vain. You're being strategically released. Think of David in the field, alone, overlooked, singing to the sheep while the world chose stronger, louder options. But I wasn't looking for strong. I was looking for surrendered. And when the time was right, I didn't ask permission. I sent for him. I anointed him. I appointed him, just like I'm doing with you. I know it doesn't look flashy right now. I know some days still feel quiet, but don't mistake quiet for wasted. This stillness is still sacred. You're not in a holding pattern. You're in final preparation. I'm putting finishing touches on what you'll carry into your next season. So take your time. Let me refine your discernment. Let me sharpen your awareness. Let me tune your ears to recognize not just good things, but God things. Because not every opportunity will be for you. Not every open door will lead to your purpose. Some will be distractions dressed as destiny, and that's why your time in silence matters. Because it taught you how to listen to peace over pressure. Let peace be your compass. Let peace, not people, be your confirmation. If you have to beg for it, force it, chase it, it's not me. I don't work through manipulation. I don't rush my children into burnout. I lead with gentleness. I guide with clarity. I release with peace. And I will release you. But when I do, don't forget who you are now. Don't forget the version of you that learned how to rest, how to weep in my arms, how to rejoice with no audience, how to breathe deeply, even when nothing made sense. That version of you is powerful, and I will use that power to set others free. You will become a refuge for the weary, a reminder to the broken, a voice of calm in noisy places. Not because you have all the answers, but because you've sat with the answer. This is your legacy now. Not that you built a platform, not that you became someone great, but that you let me build something holy in you and through you. And this is only the beginning. My beloved child, there's something holy happening now that your eyes may not yet see, but heaven sees it. I see it. And deep within you, you can feel it too. The shift. It's subtle like a breeze, not loud like a storm, but it's there. The atmosphere around you has changed because the atmosphere inside you has changed. You're not the same person who once begged me for answers. You're not the one who used to panic when nothing moved. You've grown, you've endured, you've surrendered, and now you are positioned to receive with maturity, not just with desperation. That's what my silence was shaping. It wasn't that I didn't care. It was that I was developing you. See, blessings can crush a person who hasn't been built to carry them. An open door too early can become a trap instead of a testimony. So I had to make sure that what I'm about to release into your life will not destroy you, but strengthen you, not distract you, but align you. That's why I delayed. Not because you weren't worthy, but because I was forming wisdom in your waiting. And now, listen closely. You are entering a season where what didn't work before will now flow, where what felt blocked will now burst open. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Your stillness invited my strategy. Your tears watered the ground of your future. Your obedience in silence spoke louder than your prayers. I was never ignoring you. I was integrating my purpose into your bones. Now you don't just know about me, you've encountered me. And that encounter will become someone else's breakthrough. Your healing will be the roadmap someone else needs. The fire you walked through will warm the hands of the ones who feel cold and forgotten. You are no longer just a survivor. You are a conduit of hope. But listen, child, this is not the time to rush. This is the time to remain rooted, because fruit comes from those who abide, not those who scramble. I want to make you not just fruitful, but deeply established. That's what I'm doing now, growing your roots in unseen places. You prayed for platforms. I gave you patience. You asked for influence. I gave you intimacy. You wanted increase. I gave you identity, because anything you build without me will become your burden, but anything I build in you will become your blessing. So don't despise the quiet days. They are not empty, they are essential. These are the days I am pouring strength into your foundations. You may not be seen by the crowd, but you are known in the courts of heaven. And when the moment is right, I will lift you, not just up, but into alignment. And this time, you won't doubt whether it's me. You'll feel my peace all over it. You'll see relationships realign. You'll sense acceleration that doesn't exhaust you. You'll hear my voice with clarity, because you are now in rhythm with my heartbeat. That's what the stillness gave you. You no longer chase. You no longer strive. You simply abide. And that posture will open what performance never could. Remember this. You don't have to knock down doors I never meant for you to walk through. You don't have to convince people who aren't assigned to your calling. You don't have to prove your worth. You are already chosen, already approved, already marked by grace. The wilderness didn't break you, it built you. And now you walk with a knowing, deep, quiet, unshakable. You know who your Father is. You know who you are, and nothing can take that from you. So when the enemy tries to whisper lies, remind him of what you learned in silence. When fear creeps in, recall the peace that wrapped you in your darkest hour. When uncertainty tries to cloud your vision, stand on the clarity I've deposited into your spirit. You've been forged in fire, refined in stillness, and anointed in surrender. And now I'm calling you forward, not into chaos, but into clarity. Watch what I do next. Not because you begged for it, but because you became someone who can carry it. My beloved, you have no idea how proud I am of you. Not for being perfect, not for pretending you were fine, but for staying, for holding on when everything in you wanted to let go, for whispering my name when you didn't feel my nearness. That's the kind of strength heaven celebrates, the kind that isn't loud but lasts. I saw every moment when you chose faith over fear, every time you let me in, even when it felt like I was far. And now that the fog is lifting and the healing is becoming visible, I want you to understand something. What I'm about to do next in your life isn't just the result of your prayers, it's the result of your posture. You stayed, you surrendered, and that gave me room to finish what I started. Now, you're walking in something holy, not just restoration, but transformation. You're walking lighter, freer, no longer bound by the fear of the unknown, because you've learned that even in silence, I never stopped being your source. This is what it means to be led by peace. You used to confuse peace with comfort, but now you know peace isn't the absence of storms. It's the presence of me in the middle of them, and you carry that now. Not because life is easy, but because you've learned to anchor yourself in my truth, even when emotions change, even when people change, even when plans fall through. And now, child, I'm releasing a new level of clarity over your life. You'll begin to see things for what they are. You'll recognize distractions quicker. You'll no longer entertain what you once begged to stay, because you're no longer living from a place of neediness. You're living from the abundance of my presence. You are healed, not just from what others did, but from what you used to believe about yourself. That you had to prove your worth, that you had to fight to be chosen. That love had to hurt to be real. That rejection was a reflection of your identity, no more. Those lies were dismantled in the stillness, and in their place, I've built truth. Now you know, love doesn't demand performance. Peace doesn't require perfection. My approval isn't something you earn, it's something you receive. You've stopped chasing what was never meant to carry your joy. That's why you feel lighter, because the weight you once called normal was never meant to be yours. And now, I've lifted it. You're walking in alignment, and yes, some people won't understand your new rhythm. They'll ask why you're not running like before, why you're not striving, why you don't chase what others do. And you'll simply smile and say, I'm no longer trying to prove anything. I'm just following peace, because that's the path I've set before you. A path where grace leads, a path where purpose flows, a path where the pace is set by my presence, not by pressure. And as you walk, don't look back in shame. Yes, there were things you could have done differently, but shame is not your portion. Grace is. And grace rewrites every chapter you thought was lost. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are not forgotten. You are right on time, according to heaven's calendar. And from this place of wholeness, you'll begin to lead others, not through control, but through compassion. Not from a platform, but from presence. People won't follow your words. They'll follow your example, because you've been through the silence. And you didn't just survive it, you let it shape you. You let it deepen you. And now you carry something that can't be taught. It has to be lived. Your voice will carry authority, not because you're loud, but because you're whole. And whole voices are hard to ignore. Whole voices bring healing. Whole voices walk into a room and shift the atmosphere, not because of charisma, but because of character. And I've built that in you. So don't be afraid of who you're becoming. Don't shrink back now that the veil is lifting. I know it's new. I know it's vulnerable, but I've gone ahead of you. And the version of you that's emerging is exactly who I had in mind all along. You're not too much. You're not too little. You're just right for what I've called you to carry. So speak, even if your voice trembles. Step, even if your legs shake. Shine, even if no one claps yet. Because I'm with you. And when I'm with you, you don't walk into rooms. You're sent. You don't just enter opportunities. You're assigned. This is what healing in the stillness has prepared you for. To walk as someone who no longer fears the silence. Because you've met me there, and now you know, when it's quiet, it's not empty, it's holy. I was never absent. I was always preparing you for this. My child, now that you've been restored, you may be wondering, what comes next? You feel the peace. You sense the clarity, but there's still a gentle trembling in your spirit, isn't there? A quiet question. Can I really carry this? Am I truly ready? Let me answer you with my heart. Yes, you can. And yes, you are. But not because you feel ready, because I've made you ready. I didn't just heal you in the stillness. I rebuilt you, and I did it gently, quietly, without spotlight, without applause, because what I build in the dark lasts longer in the light. You're not walking forward in your old strength. You're walking with my spirit. You're no longer fueled by fear of failure. You're led now by faith, even if it still feels unfamiliar. And that's okay. Growth often feels like vulnerability. Healing often feels like exposure. But you are not exposed. You are equipped, because now When you step into new spaces, you're not stepping in wounded. You're stepping in as someone who knows what it took to be whole. And that, my beloved, carries power. I know you still have moments of doubt. I know there are still questions you haven't voiced, but you don't have to have all the answers to walk with purpose. All you need is the same faith that kept you through the stillness, the same trust that carried you when everything else failed. That's what will carry you now. And yes, there will be days where the noise tries to return, days where the world's volume tries to drown out what I whispered in the quiet. But you'll know better now, because you've learned to recognize me, not in the noise, but in the nuance, not in the crowd, but in the calm, not in the rush, but in the rest. So don't run ahead of me. Keep walking with me, one obedient step at a time. You don't need a spotlight to be significant. You don't need a title to carry authority. You just need to stay close, because those who stay near me always stay aligned with me. And what's coming next? It's not just a blessing, it's an assignment. It's a space I've cleared just for you, not because you earned it, but because you let me prepare you for it. And hear me clearly, not everyone will understand how you got here. Some will ask, where did this strength come from? Others may question why I chose you. Don't be offended, be humble, let your fruit speak, because those who see your calm in chaos, your compassion in conflict, your patience in pressure, they'll feel me through you. You don't have to explain the process. Just live the result. You've already paid the price. You've already walked the path of silence, surrender, and stillness. You've already given me your secret yes when no one was looking. And now I'm trusting you with influence. Not loud influence, but lasting influence. The kind that touches lives without needing to take credit. The kind that shifts atmospheres without demanding attention. The kind that turns hearts toward me, not toward you. You carry that now because you've allowed me to fill every broken space. You once begged me to remove the pain, and I did, but I didn't stop there. I used it. I reshaped it. I turned it into fuel, not for your ego, but for your empathy. That's why you'll speak differently now. That's why you'll respond differently. Healed people speak softly, not because they're unsure, but because they know what it costs to find peace, and they won't give it up for anything. You'll feel that peace in the way you move now. You'll walk into spaces and know that you belong, not because others accept you, but because I've already affirmed you. You'll speak with confidence, not from performance, but from presence. You'll lead, not from ambition, but from surrender. And don't be surprised when others come to you, drawn not to your gift, but to your grace. They won't always know what to call it, but you will. It's me, still flowing through you, still guiding, still speaking. You've become a vessel, poured out in stillness, and now ready to pour into others. So don't hoard what I've given. Share it, speak it. Pray for others the way you once needed prayer. Encourage those still in the silence. Become the voice you once longed to hear, not because you have it all figured out, but because you remember what it felt like to wonder if you ever would. That is ministry. That is legacy. That is kingdom work. And that's what I built in the stillness. So continue walking, eyes fixed on me, ears tuned to my spirit, heart steady in the knowledge that I go before you. You will make mistakes. Yes, you will feel unsure again. Yes, but you will never be alone. Not now. Not ever. I didn't just bring you out of the wilderness. I brought you into promise. And promise doesn't mean perfection. It means I'm in it with you. And that's all you'll ever need. My child, look at you now. Not just standing, but rooted. Not just breathing, but living. Not just healed, but whole. You've walked through the valley. You've endured the silence. You've sat in the stillness and let me touch the parts of your soul you thought you'd have to carry broken forever. And now, this is your new beginning. But not the kind you expected. Not the loud, dramatic entrance the world looks for. Not the fireworks or the fanfare. Just a quiet strength, a steady peace, a clear knowing. You are not the same person who entered that season of silence. You once called it a breakdown, but heaven called it a breakthrough. You thought you were losing everything, but I was stripping away what could no longer come with you. And I know it felt like loss. I know it felt like loneliness, but I never left your side, not even for a moment. You see, I was never trying to take you down. I was pulling you deeper. I had to remove what numbed your hearing. I had to silence the noise that distracted your spirit. I had to still your surroundings so I could finally heal your heart. And now you know what you didn't before. You are not what you survived. You are what I've restored. You are not your story's pain. You are my promise fulfilled. I didn't bring you through the wilderness just to return you to who you were. I brought you out to reveal who you truly are, to show you that your voice still carries power, that your hands still carry purpose, that your presence still carries me. And now, I give you this final word, not as a closing, but as a release. Go forward, go healed, go whole, go without fear of falling again, because this time, you know how to rise. Let go of what once defined you, the shame, the guilt, the pressure to prove. You've already been proven. Your survival is proof. Your peace is proof. Your presence here today is proof that I've been faithful, even when you didn't understand what I was doing. You no longer need to hold on to the version of you that was only surviving. That version did their job. But now, you're being called into more. And here's the truth. It's okay if you still feel fragile sometimes. Healing doesn't mean you'll never feel pain. It means pain doesn't define you anymore. It means you've given me access to your ache, and I've made beauty from it. Yes, beauty, even in the places you tried to forget, even in the chapters you wanted to skip, even in the sentences you thought disqualified you. There is beauty now, not because you covered them up, but because you finally let me walk into them with you. And now, child, as you step into this new place, I need you to remember what sustained you. It wasn't your hustle. It wasn't your plans. It was my hand. It was the moments when you had no strength left, but still whispered my name. It was the nights when your tears soaked the pillow and you still chose to believe. It was the silence that taught you how to hear my whisper in ways you never did before. That's what I honor. That's what I bless. So when doors begin to open, stay low in your heart. When people begin to see what I've placed on you, stay rooted in what I did within you. Let your elevation never outrun your intimacy with me, because the greater the call, the deeper the need for connection. Don't trade the quiet we built together for the noise of recognition. Don't let platforms pull you from the place of my presence. Don't forget, it was me who healed you in the silence, and I still dwell there. So return often. Return when you feel overwhelmed. Return when you feel unseen. Return when it gets loud again, and I'll meet you there, like I always do. Because stillness was never meant to be a one-time experience. It is your sanctuary, your shelter, your secret place. And in that place, I will continue to pour out wisdom, clarity, and peace. Now go, my beloved. Step into all that I've prepared. Don't hesitate. Don't delay. You have my spirit. You have my favor. You have my covering. And every room you walk into will feel it, because this is what healing in the stillness does. It makes you unshakable. It makes you trustworthy. It makes you ready, and you are. You thought I was silent, but now you know the truth. I was writing your resurrection story, one breath, one prayer, one surrendered moment at a time. And today, the silence ends. Not because I wasn't speaking, but because now you've learned to hear me in every moment, even when it's quiet. I was always there, and I always will be. This is your release. This is your reintroduction. This is your rising. Welcome to the fullness of who I created you to be. Now go and carry my stillness with you wherever you go. So if you've ever wondered where God was in the silence, if you've ever felt like your prayers hit the ceiling, if your soul has ached for answers that never seemed to come, let this message remind you, He wasn't absent. He was healing. He was near, even when it felt like He wasn't speaking. He didn't leave you behind. He was leading you deeper. He didn't forget about you. He was preparing you. And now, He's releasing you. You're not the same person who entered that quiet season. You're stronger. You're wiser. You're more aware of who walks with you. So hold your head high, not in pride, but in peace. And walk forward, healed. Not because everything is perfect, but because you finally understand. Sometimes God's greatest work is done in the quiet. And when the world can't hear Him, that's often when He's speaking the loudest. to your soul. Call to action, optional narration. If this message stirred your spirit, share it with someone who's still waiting in the silence. Subscribe for more Voice from God stories, healing words, and soul-deep truth. And remember, heaven is still speaking, if you're still enough to listen. Until next time, stay anchored, stay surrendered, stay still.